Back to Heroes of Light and Shadow, and... Wait, what was that? You want to show what? Okay, I guess. Well, it looks like we're gonna have to interrupt this broadcast once again to bring you... the Fail Channel! Arena mishaps and misfortunes. This is something I'm sure every Fire Emblem player is familiar with. No doubt you've seen many videos on YouTube of this. It seems that the arena is the place where the RNG decides to go crazy. And the drill grounds are no exception. So, without further ado, I bring you Bast's unfortunate arena experience. I was actually planning to get Bast some experience in the drill grounds last chapter, just to make up for the fact that I haven't been able to use him for a while, and he's a little bit behind compared to my other characters. So, but of course, back then I didn't get the chance because the chapter was so short, and I felt, well, I had to restart from my one-turn strategy so much, I didn't really think, I didn't particularly feel like having Bast go through the arena every single time. So, I decided to move his arena battles to this part, and things went reasonably well at first. Well, I had to look through a bunch of opponents here. So, now Bast's first match is against this Cavalier. He has a 100% chance of hitting. Bast's is only in the 60s, but Bast prevails. That's a pretty good luck with his hit chances, you might say. Well, and a pretty decent level up. I mean, those are the two stats he really needs. Nope, don't want to fight that guy. Yes, I often like to have Bast fight mages because he generally doubles them and does an awful lot of damage. Of course, they do an awful lot of damage to him, and if Bast misses his attack, he would have died. But fortunately, he didn't. Fortunately being the key word here. Because Bast's next match would not go so well. Not him. Not him. Right, this guy. I'm feeling pretty sure I can take this guy on. And, whoop, miss. Okay, well that's fine. As long as I hit my next two attacks, that's fine. Okay, by this point I'm already dead, but... and he missed again. 3 74s all missing. Yep. Oh, but it doesn't stop there. That was all. I would have said, there was a pretty good chance of that happening, and not really bothered with showing it off here. Unfortunately, the game decided that it really didn't like Bast that day. So, we're back. I just reloaded my save. Time for more drill grounds. So, that last one ended badly, obviously, so I had to do this all again. For the ease of recording, I usually don't save after my characters get level ups. I usually do my whole arena streak in one go. Right, time for a mercenary. I'll 2-hit KO him, but with a reasonably low hit chance. Okay, that miss and... whoa! Well, he certainly made up for that miss and that poor performance before. Or so I thought. Unfortunately, today the game decided that Bast wasn't the only one who could enjoy low percent criticals. Oh, that was so close to, but no, and he's gone. Anyway, this has been Bast's Arena Mishaps. See you in the actual chapter. Thankfully behind us, it's on to Chapter 7, Scarlet Swordsman. And, judging by the opening chapter CG and the name, it's pretty obvious who will be getting in this chapter. Yes, I wasn't kidding when we said we shouldn't bother with Samto. The real deal is coming right now. And, well, yeah, we are looking forward to it. But it's not just him. He's got a new friend with him, and she will be very, very useful too, you'll see. She's also a first for Maths games, and in fact, the first of her kind in the series, when the original was out. But, again, you'll see just who she is when we start the chapter. But, trust me, you'll be thankful she is here. And there, mentioned, yes, that is her. Of course, we've got to make sure she doesn't get killed by bandits, but Naval might have that dealt with for us. Yeah, he is awesome, just preempting there. Funnily enough, though, the chapter was still called The Scarlet Swordsman, even back in the original FE3, where Naval wore purple instead of red, which is a kind of weird. Yeah. And I probably feel as though, I feel obliged to mention this. My sister was obsessed with his purple outfit and really annoyed when they changed it to red. I don't know why. Though I do think his outfit now looks a little too similar to Rutger's in FE6. But still. Anyway, this conversation here is quite interesting. We've actually got a bit of character development for Jagan. So yeah, they really don't skip on the character development. Everyone gets some. As you'll see later, even the villains do. But, I'll leave that for later, because that's kind of a bit of a spoiler. But yeah, character development for everyone in this game. Stark contrast to Shadow Dragon, where everyone was just flat bricks, basically. Right, did Jagan just say she's someone who attracts all the people? Well, certainly that is part of being Mary Sue, but he didn't mention the fact that, everyone falls in love with her. Right, now, battle preparations time. This chapter, right, we've got a whole bunch of thieves here. They're making off with the treasures of the Fane of Brahman, and this one in particular is really important. The Scorpio Shard. Yes, we have another one of the Starsphere Shards here. That's the 6th Shard. And we're going to want to get this one. Not least of which because it provides a really useful bonus. +2 to speed can be the difference between doubling and not doubling. Now up here, we've got the Free Company mentioned in the chapter intro. Including Astrum. With the Mercurius, the most powerful sword in the game. Yes, the opening narration was not kidding when it said you should stay away from them. So yeah, stay away from them. As this conversation also mentions. Basically, as if the game couldn't stress it enough, you can't fight these guys. I mean, you can try, but maybe on normal mode you might be able to take a few of them. But you seriously also don't want to risk killing Astrum. Because, yeah, apparently, Astrum's ending back in Shadow Dragon said he received the sword Mercurius. I really don't know why exactly, but, I don't know. But anyway, it is the most powerful sword in the game, stronger than a silver sword with a crit rate of 10, so you want to watch out for that. Now, this conversation here, is interesting. This is a flashback, this is not actually Astrum's recruitment conversation. This is a conversation that took place if you had Astrum speak to Marth after he was recruited in Shadow Dragon. Now, funnily enough, Serenae's Forest did not actually have a transcript of this conversation on their site for quite a while until I reminded them they didn't. So, yeah, I like to give myself a little credit for the fact that the conversation's actually there. They recently have updated their Shadow Dragon script page, so that conversation is there now. And again, you don't want to fight Astrum because, as hinted here, Astrum is, like George previously, Astrum is recruitable, but not now. You'll have to wait quite a while to get him. And for the time being, yeah. So basically, another recap of what's going on. Groost has been liberated, finally, and Lang, that bastard, is now dead. Unfortunately, our troubles are only just beginning. Currently, we've been entrusted by Wendell to, go to the Fane of Brahman and see if we can locate any Starsphere Shards. We actually just did, the Scorpio Shard in the Fest of the Thief, so we want to make sure we get that as soon as possible. Like I said, you do not want to miss a single Starsphere Shard, and this one here, yeah, this one is missable. Right, now time for some supports. There aren't many in this chapter. In a few later chapters, you'll see the supports go absolutely crazy. I recently recorded up to a bit further in the game, and I had, like, a huge amount of support conversations in one chapter. But anyway, I guess it's because, okay, I'll just say it now, at this point, we'll be getting 2 more characters who I'm going to be using in my main party. And so, not only do they get supports with Mary Sue, they also have supports with each other. So, from now on, expect to be seeing a lot more. Anyway, so this is a conversation about, it seems Mary Sue has some knowledge of wild berries, and of course, Linda here was raised, apparently she was raised in the palace, interesting, despite the fact that her father was from Cardane, and a respected major there, as you learned in her first support. Oh yes, and this whole thing about the palace, yeah, I guess this could be as good a time as any to talk about this. Now, yeah, this is going with the localization of Shadow Dragon, which I like. In the original, in the Japanese version, both the actual palace of Arcania and the capital city of Arcania were referred to as Paresu, which is could be romanized as palace. In other words, it seems as though the name of the city was just gratuitous English, as in, the city itself was called Palace, which came out kind of weird in the English version, and as a result, the localization of Shadow Dragon simply called the city the Palace, or the Millennial Court. So, the fan translation has started to go with the actual term there. If you looked at the original Mystery of the Emblem fan translation, you'll find they refer to the city as Palace, which kind of comes out kind of weird, and looks really awkward, and I'm really glad they went with this translation. So they've said in cases where, the palace is not appropriate, that they use the palace town. Anyway, now this is talking about, for some reason, backstory, Mary Sue is, for some reason, unable to cook. I actually don't know, there's this fixation in Japanese media with characters' ability or lack of ability to cook. I haven't really seen it in much other stuff. In Japanese media you get an awful lot of, there's a big deal made of whether a character can or can't cook. And it doesn't really depend on their gender either. And there's an awful lot of jokes in Japanese media about characters who have cooking so bad it literally poisons people. I've seen it. I go to an anime club at my uni, and I've seen an awful lot of animes that use that as a joke, so yeah. Apparently Mary Sue's cooking tastes like steel. So I guess that's the one area she's not perfect in. Oh well, guess you gotta give Mary Sue flaws that don't really matter. Oh, right, yeah, now this bit, yeah. This obviously is significantly different if Mary Sue is female. Speaking of which, you'll notice Mary Sue, the Y in her name, is getting cut off. This will be the last chapter you see that. Starting with the next chapter, I will be using version 3.01 of the patch, and you won't see any name tag cut-off issues. But until then, you'll just have to bear with it for one more chapter. Anyway, now, time for hilarity to ensue. Yes, that's right, Militia and Shida do get support. I thought, when I first found that out, I was like, whoa. I didn't see these in my first playthrough because I didn't use Shida, so I'll be honest with you, most of the reason I'm using Shida is just for these supports here. So anyway, apparently, Militia is blissfully ignorant of the fact that, Shida is engaged to the man she's stalking. So, she now seems to obsess over the fact that Shida is a real-life princess, and, she should have lots of pretty Essentially, she thinks that Shida is a Disney princess, when the reality could not be more different. Even though Mulan is considered a Disney princess, and she's probably more similar to Shida than any of the others. Anyway, I guess I'm talking about Disney now, but I probably shouldn't, yeah. Though, I will mention that I am a massive Kingdom Hearts fan, as you can probably tell by the video on my channel that has the most views, which I seriously never expected to get that many views. And now I'm getting really off topic, so I'll just stop. So basically, yeah, she is talking about how, even though she's a princess, she comes from a very small island kingdom that really isn't that wealthy, so she doesn't, you know, wear pretty dresses and the like, but then again, she probably wouldn't want to. And apparently, now Militia assumes that Shida is incognito because, because she's not wearing pretty princess dresses, which I find hilarious. Yeah, Militia is always a good source of comedy. Yeah, okay. Yeah, Shida is as weirded out as everyone else is. Oh, you probably don't want to find out what she's up to. Anyway, time to save after all those conversations and go on to the actual preparations proper. Alright, and time for some drill grounds then. I guess this time you'll actually see Bast performing well. So basically, yeah, this save file, this is where all those Bast mishaps happened. So I had to reload this about 3 times. And just to warn you, my actual performance in playing this chapter may not be that good, simply because, well, the day I recorded this, I was really pissed off. One, I'd previously recorded that Roro stuff, and I needed a lot of restarts just to get that perfect battle against Roro. Secondly, oh come on! Oh wow. Phew, that was close! Wow, that was really close. That was insanely lucky, so I guess Bast, well, I guess the arena did decide to like him that time. I am fast running out of money. I do go through gold very quickly in the drill grounds. Yeah, Bast tends to do pretty well against enemy axe fighters, mostly because he generally doubles them and does an awful lot of damage. So, yeah, this was the run where the arena was kinda to Bast. Anyway, like I was saying, not only did I have a lot of arena failings, but I also had to restart this chapter quite a few times, because I'll just give you a heads up. This chapter's where stuff actually gets pretty tricky. There's a lot of things going on, and I guess I should get this out of the way now. You basically got 2 characters that you have to protect, and on hard, it's actually quite hard to keep one of them alive, specifically. Also, you need quite a bit of luck in order to have them survive too, which is annoying. Secondly, this is the first chapter. This is the start of a series of 3 chapters that you want to finish as fast as possible. Yeah, there's a reason you want to finish these chapters as quickly as possible, but you'll find out why. Let's just say there's a very, very large and relentless stream of reinforcements in this map, and you want to get this done quite quickly. Also, you don't want to have the thieves escape the map. If you're a perfectionist, catching all the thieves is pretty tough too. So, this is actually a pretty tricky chapter. Not only that, but there's an optional but pretty tough enemy you can fight here too. You'll see who that is when we get to it. So, a lot going on in this chapter, and yeah, it's actually quite a hectic one. I'm getting Ogma a couple of level ups here just to compensate for the fact that he wasn't in the last chapter. But unlike Bast, the arena's being pretty kind to him. He doesn't have much of a problem here. For some reason, the arena seems to be nicer on sword users than it is on axe users. That was okay. Right, that should be enough then. Okay, time for some actual, rearranging of items. Just a heads up, I actually did end up making a, okay, firstly, I'll just say this. I'm switching Mary Sue back to Pegasus Knight here, because we're gonna need flyers if we want to chase down those thieves. So, yeah, unfortunately she can only use Iron Lances, but her strength is so high, she can pretty much do that anyway. Right, sorry Caesar and Rad, but you're both out. So I'm gonna put Ogma and Sirius back in. Shuffling Sirius up to the front, just so he can run after the thieves as fast as possible, making sure my Pegasi are in front. Okay, now if I'm going through these preparations really quickly, it's because by this point, I had already done them about 5 times. And in fact, at this point, I got so annoyed that I actually made a save state after this, just so every time I restarted the chapter, I didn't have to sit through the preparations and this conversation again. Technically speaking, I don't consider that cheating because, you know, I would have had to restart at the same point anyway, and that just saves me having to record this conversation every single time I failed, which got really, really annoying. Anyway, here we have Narbal. Okay, just again, I'm referring to him by his European name because it's easier for me to pronounce. But he's the one character the game could not find a consistent spelling for. I've seen Navare, Nabal, Naval, Nabaru. Yeah, there's a lot of them. And yeah, they can't make up their minds. Anyway, here, this is Fina. Fina is the dancer who is trapped in the forest, and she's apparently, a dancer from Warren. Warren the port town back in Shadow Dragon, not Warren the character. They have similar names, so yeah. So, yeah, Fina seems to have taken a liking to this guy. except, she's another one of those characters that's a source of much hilarity. We'll just see. Her personality could not be any different to Narval's, and they get support from each other, so... well, yeah. So, though Narval seems to be, he's a pretty nice guy, he's gonna help her, so, even though he doesn't like her, even though she can be a bit annoying sometimes. Time to talk about these two then. After going through all those imposters and poor man's substitutes, at last, the original and the best returns to us. Welcome back, Narval, we have missed you. Seriously, just taking a look at this guy's growths, base stats and averages should tell you why I told you not to use either of the two Mirrorisms we got previously. This guy only comes very shortly after those two, Rad and Samto, and, well, yep, he's pretty amazing. To put it in perspective, he has the exact same speed growth as Samto does, but all of his other growths are better, except for perhaps HP, but that doesn't really matter that much. Yeah, I wasn't kidding when I said the original completely blows his fake out of the water. As for Rad, well, Rad has better strength, but Narval has pretty much amazing stats in other areas, and Narval also has the lead when it comes to base stats. As you can see, he's got better base stats than both the other Mirrorisms we've seen so far, and in fact, despite a lower HP growth, I think he actually averages slightly higher HP than the others, simply on virtue of his better base stats. And again, if you look at his averages there, they're pretty much exactly what you'd want from a Swordmaster. Max strength, skill, speed, pretty close to max luck. And even considering all things, his defense actually isn't too bad. Well, by his class's standards at least. Yep, he is pretty amazing, and if you want a Swordmaster, you probably want to go with him. And here's the thing, you will want a Swordmaster in this game. I think I should explain it now. Swordmasters in this game are much improved compared to Shadow Dragon. Though, like quite a few buffs in a lot of other types of games I've seen, this class was buffed more on virtue of the game itself changing, rather than the class changing. The class itself is pretty much the same, except for one notable difference. In Shadow Dragon, Swordmaster's got a 10% bonus to hit. Yes, hit. A stat they didn't even need, given that they hit all the time anyway. Yeah, that was stupid, and I hated that. That was completely ridiculous. In this game, sadly, they haven't got their critical bonus back, although they do critical an awful lot with that high skill stat. They do, on the other hand, have that 10% bonus to hit has been changed to a 10% bonus to evasion. That is much more useful than the previous one. And it complements Narval really well, because as you can see, even though he's also got good speed, he's got amazing luck too, and that's actually not a common trait in his archetype. I find a lot of Narval archetype characters tend to have pretty low luck, but in his case, it's pretty amazing, and because of that, well, he dodges an awful lot. That's really his main specialty, dodging. With maxed out speed and luck, plus the 10% dodge bonus, he'll have a dodge rate of 55% at base. That's before factoring any terrain bonuses. And while that may not sound impressive, that's the best you're going to get in this game. For those who don't know, the evasion formula in this game has changed compared to other Fire Emblems, and it's essentially half of what it used to be. So if he was in one of those games where the evade formula was how it was normally, well, I'm guessing he'd have almost SETI level evasion. But as it stands, yeah. But given that evasion isn't as important or reliable in this game, you might be thinking, well then, why are Swordmasters so useful? Well, here's the reason. Speed. Speed matters in this game a lot more than it does before, and Swordmasters have that. The main advantage Swordmaster gives is a huge speed base, and you're going to need that if you want to consistently double enemies and avoid being doubled by enemies on the higher difficulty levels, especially Maniac and Lunatic. On Lunatic, Swordmasters are pretty much required just to be durable enough to survive. Yes, for some reason, well not for some reason, it's actually a pretty good reason, speed kind of equates to durability in this game, and Swordmasters are the king now, not generals. Avoiding these doubles is much more important in this game than having higher defense in general. So that's where Swordmasters really shine. They of course also have that really high base sword ranking, and that's good too, because it helps you use the really high level swords quickly. So yeah, like I said, Swordmaster is a very good class in this game, and you're going to want to have one on your team. If you're like me and you hate reclassing, that means that Naval is your best option for that. And in that, he really delivers, so he's a great character to use. Now, it's time to talk about his companion for this map, and probably for the rest of the game. Whoa, baby. Okay, for the moment, I know it's hard. Try not to look at her growth rates. We'll get to those later. Her main usefulness, surprisingly enough, doesn't lie there. Fina is a dancer. Yes, that's right, we'll be getting a dancer in Marth's games. Whenever I played Shadow Dragon, I always used to really miss a dancer. I used to be really annoyed, you know, because dancers are really useful to have. If you've been living under a rock and don't know what a dancer is in the Fire Emblem series, I mean, you probably will if you're watching these videos, but in case you don't, dancers allow another unit to move again, at the expense of their own turn, of course, but considering that that's really the only thing they do, that's not much of a big loss. Essentially, yeah, dancers allow you to get 2 uses out of one of your characters, and that is incredibly useful. I mean, you seriously have no idea how useful this is, especially in this game when, like I said, for the next 3 chapters, we'll want to be crossing the maps with Marth as fast as possible, and Fina really helps in that regard. She essentially lets a really good character do their job twice as well, and for that, she does her job really well. Yeah. Of course, you know, this game is back to dancers only being able to refresh 1 unit per turn instead of 4, like in Fire Emblem 4 and with Rayson in Path of Radiance and Radiant Dawn. Still, that's better than nothing, and, I mean, it's still pretty amazing, and even getting a dancer, again, I really miss dancers in Shadow Dragon. Lacking one, I found it really annoying, so I'm glad you actually have one. Now, as far as dancers go though, in the series, Fina is a bit special. Like in Fire Emblem 4, and interestingly enough in Awakening, dancers can attack with swords. However, unlike in Fire Emblem 4, when they were pretty much crap at it, and, well, you didn't want to use that feature that much, in this game, well, just take a look at Fina's growths. Yep, Fina starts off weak, sure, but once she gets level ups, and with all the dancing she'll be doing, believe me, she will be getting level ups. She starts growing her stats at a ridiculous rate. Like, she has some of the best overall growths in the entire game, except for HP and defense. So she's still pretty frail, but with such high evasion she'll have eventually, that doesn't really matter all that much. And it's not like you'll be putting her on the front lines anyway. However, once she's got quite a bit of level ups, she can actually make a fairly decent combat unit. Well, at the very least though, she can defend herself pretty well if she gets attacked. She starts with an E-ranking sword, sure, but she can use the lady sword to make up for that, and she's probably, if you're not using either maybe Cecile, a female Myrmidon, or a certain female builds of my unit, I'd say Fina is the best candidate for that weapon. It gives her an awful lot of attack power that really compensates for her low starting strength, and yeah, despite her base strength being pathetic, it's actually 1 point higher than it was in the original History of the Emblem, so actually I'm not going to complain about that. What I will complain about though is, unfortunately I have one complaint about Fina, and this is it. Developers, well, you're probably not listening to this, but if you are, why doesn't she have a 30 speed cap? Why doesn't she have a 30 speed cap? She has the 2nd highest speed growth in the freaking game, and she only has a 25 speed cap? Seriously, her speed growth is enough to even, hell, if her cap was above 30, she could go above 30. She really could. And yet they stick her with the same speed cap as Marth. 1 point less than a hero? Seriously? She has a 90% speed growth, for goodness sake. Seriously, why didn't they give her a 30 cap? She has better potential to cap her speed than Thieves do. They have a 30 cap, why can't she have a 30 speed cap? I mean, seriously, that's the one thing that really hinders her. Sorry about that, I really had to go on a rant there, because seriously, why couldn't they give her a 30 speed cap? Why couldn't they give her a 30 speed cap? Why couldn't they give her a 30 speed cap? Is it too much to ask? I'm sorry, that's really the only complaint I have about Fina, and I think I'll just stop complaining now. Again, Fina leveled up, and she will be leveling up, trust me, with all the dancing she's doing. She actually makes for a pretty decent combat unit in a pinch. Though there's one problem with her. In the original game, Fina was the only character besides Marth who could wield rapiers, and that actually did imply something about her heritage. However, for some reason, I don't know why, in this game, they've removed that ability. I'll prove this to you in the next chapter, but that actually does hurt her combat effectiveness a little bit. Then again, she has the Lady Sword to make up for that, so it's not really a huge loss. But still, I mean, it's kind of annoying, and especially annoying considering that, well, it makes her kind of less interesting story-wise. Well, yeah. Anyway, it's time to get back to the chapter and save these two from bandits. Now, I'm gonna warn you, I went through this really quickly, and this is because I was really pissed off this day. This might have been, I don't know, maybe give or take the 5th time I'd done this. Okay, let's just say this though. In order for Fina and Narbal, well, not so much Narbal, but more Fina, to even survive this initial onslaught, you'll need some really careful planning. Of course, after I did this, I realized a lot of walkthroughs just recommend using the rescue staff on her. Then again, I'd prefer to save the rescue staff for other characters. Now, here's the thing about Fina here. Fina can survive one attack from a thief, but if she gets hit by 2 thieves in the same turn, bye-bye Fina. So you've got to make sure she can only get attacked by one enemy. As you'll notice here, she's in range of several enemies, but there's only one square they can each attack her from, the one above her, and that means she'll only get attacked by one this turn. This house here. Yeah, talking about, yeah, Fana Brahmins being looted by thieves, blah, 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 yeah. Funnily enough, he says he hopes they get cursed. That actually might be subtle foreshadowing for something we find out a bit later in the game. But anyway, so yeah, this guy's talking about, yeah, Astrum's free company. Once again, we get another warning. Don't get close to them, don't attack them, just ignore them. You will be so glad you did, seriously. Now I'm just going to go over to get serious to visit that house. I'm going to go up here. Right, now we need everyone to run, especially the Pegasus Knights. We've got to be fast here if we want to stop these thieves from escaping and save Fina and Narbo. Mark, Linda, and Ryan, on the other hand, they're going to head towards that cave. There's a reason, but you'll find that out in the next part. Yeah, Fina might not be looking too good combat-wise now, but anyway. Now I made sure to rig it so that only one of those thieves can attack her, because, as you saw, if more than one of those thieves gets her, she's dead. So, again, watch out for that. You also, now, Narbal also pretty much has to critical. On hard mode, he won't be doubling the thieves, and that's really annoying, because, which means that he kind of needs to kill one of them just to get Fina to survive, which means you need to pretty much reset until he gets a critical. So there's a bit of luck in this chapter. Now, annoyingly, that Master Seal Thief is probably going to get away. That Angelic Robe guy might get away too, which is annoying, but at least. Now, we've got to watch out here, because there are a couple of hunters here. There's some hunters right above who you really don't want to provoke. I learned that the hard way. If you do as Narbal suggests, and head west immediately, actually, I'm saving now, so I'll talk about that next part.